Sorry if I'm a little fucking snip. Hurt and I'm old and I'm fucking tired and I work with fucking children.
You're fired.
Oh yeah! What's up, everybody? We're back live. It is a Saturday. Doing something a little different here with the Saturday pre-collision shows. Just testing out the waters a little bit, see if anything hits that YouTube algorithm, because that's a finicky, fickle beast, that YouTube algorithm. But we hit it a little bit here recently with some of the shorts. So we got a few new subscribers to the channel. So I appreciate you all if you're watching this on the replay or whatever. Here to maybe see us talk about some Impact. Me and Tyler were in the Impact Zone last night for a show. So that was a lot of fun, and got some good clips from that and everything. Not doing a vlog for this one because it was just one of those random Impact Plus shows. But other than that, man, it's been I'm not even going to make the joke. It has been a fucking crazy couple weeks for pro wrestling.
My God.
Just one goddamn thing after the other. And we haven't really been here since All In. We did our live stream. We had a couple special guests join us for that, which was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But man, some shit went down in between that and where we are today. About 2 weeks removed from the biggest show in pro wrestling history. 81,000 paid fans. That's just paid fans. That's not even including the comps and the people working at the building. I think Tony Khan said at the press conference there was about 90,000 in the building for the show if you count everybody. So that's crazy.
There's a new number because they were able to get the numbers for the boxes, and I think it's at 85.
Uh-huh. Wow. But that's like, so those boxes are like comps though. Those aren't like paid tickets, right?
Comps.
Yeah. So 81,000 paid is still a record, which is like just crazy on its own. But yeah, if you count everybody in the building, it was like closer to 90,000 people, which is just nuts for a wrestling show. And
one of the Cultaholic guys, I was watching one of their videos this morning, and they happened to be talking about it. And he said, "Yeah, it just was massive to be there."
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, I was at that first Arthur Ashe Stadium show a couple years ago, and I'll be going in a couple weeks as well to the third one. Missed last year because of old Johnny Rotten, Cover. I don't even want to say it, so I don't want to jinx myself again. But it was that show. The first Arthur Ashe show felt like a massive event for the company.
Yeah.
That was I think like 20,000, 22,000 somewhere around that. Yeah, and that seemed massive, especially for AEW, because it was like, they were still kind of launching their launch pad had sort of hit the stratosphere a little bit, if you would, and you compare that a couple years later and all the turmoil and drama and everything that's gone down, and yeah, we'll talk about that here in a little bit, but just the fact that they were able to pull off a show on that scale, I'm sure that WWE is going to come along and decide that they want to break that record at some point and run some massive venue. They'll probably run Wembley, like all things considered, but I don't know. I mean, if Tony Khan has a thing in place where it's like, that they're the exclusive to the, similar to like the way that WWE tried to block Ring of Honor from running the Garden a few years ago, and we haven't seen AEW at the Garden because it's just, WWE kind of has their thing there, so.
Chicago, that's why.
Well, yeah, they love Chicago, and they got Arthur Ashe Stadium. Like that's kind of their venue in New York now, so.
He doesn't even do Madison Square Garden anymore.
Not very often, no.
Time. It's very rare you'll see them. Like, I mean, they do like a one show a year, but it's very rare you'll see a television. They're very rare.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Raw, like a Raw, or I think this year they did SmackDown, but like, there was a Raw last year, and so they do, once a year, maybe, if you're lucky. If you don't count like the house shows, they usually do a house show like right around Christmas, there, but like, that's a sort of an annual tradition. But yeah, but no pay-per-views or anything like that.
Madison Square Garden, there's just something special about those shows when you go back and watch the walking through the little gate there. My favorite one is still SummerSlam 98 with the freaking gates to hell. There's just something about the Garden WWE. This is too bad. And I get WWE. Madison Square Garden is expensive to run. You know what? WWE is not broke. They can fucking.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I'm really hoping that someday they decide to do the Royal Rumble there, because that's on my bucket list of wrestling shows to attend in person. And Madison Square Garden, I think, would be awesome for that show. They seeming like they're kind of running the Royal Rumbles from like these big baseball stadiums. That seems to be the go-to now. But the Garden, it's the Garden. Like, you got to think, like, at some point you're gonna.
I'm actually shocked they've never done an event from Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, obviously there's no roof, so you got to think of like rain and
MetLife.
That's true. Yeah.
Or where they did whenever they do Mania over there now in Jersey. That's not
it's just like brings back memories from a couple years ago with Samoa Joe and that raincoat, like doing the pre-show or whatever. Or they had to have a rain delay, I think, even for that. So
watching all the wrestlers having to vamp for time.
Yeah. No, it always makes you think like, they'll run WrestleMania from one of these giant outdoor football stadiums. Frequently, like this year, this coming one's going to be in Philly. That's an outdoor football stadium. So
why not Yankee Stadium? Like, clearly you can't do the Rumble from there because winter. But like a Mania or even like a SummerSlam or something. Like, New York is WWE is New York. Like,
they kind of own the territory a little bit. They like. Okay, AEW gets Queens. You got your own little thing, but WWE sort of owns that market. Yeah. But no, man, no. I'm just waiting for the WrestleMania when it's snowing. Like maybe this year in Philly, who knows? But like
they won't do it in Canada. The risk is snow.
Because the Northeast like tends to have these weird like blizzards in April. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that some year.
Is it going to Minnesota soon?
Yeah, but that's a new stadium with a roof, so they don't really have to worry about it. But Philly
malfunctions.
Philly at the end of March. I mean, you never know. There could be a big snowstorm. That would be hilarious. I just want to see wrestling in snow.
WrestleMania in Philly. Who do you think is going to have the Rocky style entrance? Somebody has to have the Rocky.
It's got to be Cody, right?
You would think so.
Yeah. Especially since it's that's totally what they're going to do. I didn't even think about that. Rocky loses in the first movie. He wins in the second movie. They're in Philly. I mean, I'm just hoping I can cut my hair. I just want to cut my hair, damn it. Like, come on.
I remember when that would have been.
I know we're still months away, but yeah.
I remember 2001. It was when The Rock returned to WWE during the Invasion angle. That happened in Philly. And I remember there was, following just camera shots around, and then all of a sudden you pan, and there was The Rock standing beside the Rocky statue.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is actually a bucket list moment of mine is to run those steps and see that statue.
Hey, what if a man by the name of Phillip Brooks gets the Rocky style entrance this year at WrestleMania?
First, he does not get that he hasn't seen the movies.
That's a good point. There was a whole debacle there with the Rocky things with that guy.
Because I was watching a video and they brought up the Rocky 3 thing again, and I was like, how has that man seen Rocky?
Well, look, I think that's a good enough time as any to segue into potentially the biggest wrestling news story of the year, because Vince's thing was last year, right? Him coming back was earlier this year, but
the announcement of the Endeavor sale was this year as well.
Yeah,
and it's actually due to be closing pretty soon here, within the next week or so.
But like let's be honest. So what are people talking about more in the wrestling community? Endeavor or is it CM Punk? I mean, really.
100% it's CM. Because I mean, the dude fucking got fired. He's the first person ever fired by AEW.
Yeah. It's really something. I'm just like still honestly trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. Like I've always tried to be as like in the middle as possible with the all the drama that like just drama in general. Like I hate trying to take a side and the way it is with the internet nowadays and everything. It's like you have to pick a side. You're either team elite or you're team punk. No, I don't want to be either. I just want to like sort of observe from a background. But this one, I mean, it seems like I'll just giving my general thoughts on like having a couple weeks to process it and everything. This one seems a little bit more maybe clear-cut than the Brawl Out, because Brawl Out happened in the locker room. There were no cameras. It took forever for the investigation to unfold. This one seemed pretty clear-cut. I mean, if you have been living under a rock the last couple weeks, right before CM Punk's match with Samoa Joe, which took place after Jack Perry's match, and then, of course, we had the drama with Jack Perry and the broken glass. He wanted to do a spot with broken glass on Collision. Yeah. Punk vetoed it. He got it cleared with AEW, but Punk was like, no, it's not happening on my show, kind of thing. And then there was the line that he said after he tossed Hook onto the windshield of the car and broke a bunch of glass of Cry Me a River. And Punk apparently, so the story that seems the most sort of accurate in terms of the reporting, there was a whole bunch of different versions, but it seems like what happened was Jack Perry was in Gorilla. CM Punk approached him and was like, hey, you got a problem with me? Jack was like, no, I was just trying to do it to get heat, basically. And then some words were exchanged. Some punches were thrown.
CM Punk himself has fucking done this just last year.
Yep. So Punk apparently threw punches at Jack. He got him locked in a sort of like a chokehold thing. People had to separate them. And then apparently Punk went after Tony Khan. And that's I think, the biggest sort of catalyst here, if you would, is the fact that the guy basically assaulted his boss. And just in general, if you assault your boss, usually you get fired. I mean, that's kind of just in general, like that. That's what happens. But apparently he went after him.
For those of you out there who saying Vince McMahon never would, fuck you. Look up Kevin Waitschultz, a.k.a. Nails, from 1992. He got fired for trying to choke Vince McMahon.
Yeah, so apparently Punk went after Tony Khan. He, tore some, like, the monitors down. This all happened in Gorilla, and luckily there are cameras set up all around Wembley Stadium, and this happened, right out in the open in front of everybody. So they were able to resolve it pretty quick. And then, yes, as we all know, CM Punk has been fired. And I think like the main thing that I want to say about it is that people online had sort of taken to blame this all on Tony Khan. Like, this is all somehow Tony Khan's fault, and this looks really bad for Tony Khan. It looks really bad for AEW. Guys, come on. That's like saying, okay, let's say that I'm out driving on the freeway, and I get really mad, and I rear end somebody in traffic, right? And on purpose, or I just turn around and I smash into somebody's car, right? And then there's a melee that ensues, and I get out of the car and I beat the shit out of somebody. And then for some reason, my boss also happens to be the guy that's in traffic that gets out and tries to separate me and the other guy that I went after. And then I go after my boss, and I would get my ass kicked if I tried to assault my boss, and fired, obviously. But then for some reason, everybody on the internet sees this whole thing take place, and they go and they try to blame my boss for me crashing my car into somebody and getting into a fight. Guys, that's not how it works. I'm sorry, but like the fact that people are like, going after Tony Khan for all this, it's like, I don't know, man. They must be like wanting to suck Punk's dick or something. Because I don't know.
I argue there's a little bit of truth to that argument from the internet, because in all reality, it is well known that Tony Khan doesn't run exactly a tight ship. So I mean, like he allowed the environment to fester like that. That's basically as far as it gets to putting blame on him. In reality, he did create the atmosphere of a little bit looser rein. So that's only amount of blame on him. But in reality, CM Punk like at some point it was going to bite him in the ass. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, shout out to Dave Meltzer, who, you know, a controversial figure. People don't like him, whatever. He's a reporter, he's a journalist, yada, yada, yada. He made a really good point like a week before this all went down that basically they need to nip this in the bud now before it like escalates and gets out of control. And it unfortunately escalated and got out of control, and the result is this. It's Punk being fired and everything, and yeah, it's
more to the situation as well. There's stuff involving the Young Bucks in a meeting.
So the Young Bucks thing, that was recently, like within the last day or so, it came out that the Young Bucks were willing, because apparently Punk wanted to sit the Elite down in a room and like have a meeting. And that they were not really interested, and that apparently the Bucks were willing to do that, but they wanted 6 months without any drama in order for them to finally do it. And apparently they kept resetting the clock, because it was like every couple weeks there'd be another fucking thing that happened with Punk. And then there's the Regal story's pretty fucking crazy too. Like Jesus Christ,
fucking mind. Like out of all people, like where the hell did that come from?
So that one was the report was that when William Regal debuted, he went to go meet Punk and shake his hand, and Punk refused to shake his hand and basically was like, "No, you're a stooge for Triple H, and you're here to take down the company," which is like, kind of will be very ironic if that man ends up going back to WWE, because you know, maybe he was out to. I like that. There's a conspiracy out there that I read that was like Punk was the real stooge here, and he was sent over by WWE to take down AEW, and he failed, and now he has to go back. But man, like there's a
William Regal.
I know.
In the business, really?
Right.
Pritchard's the stooge.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of like, again, I'm still trying to wrap my head around and process all this, because there's, I think, there's a lot that's come out, and there's a lot that still hasn't come out that we don't know about yet with all the other stuff, drama behind the scenes.
More to the Young Bucks thing, where like Punk's lawyer said to cease and desist over something that happened over in DC. And it's like, I haven't seen it, but from everything I hear, it literally Punk's not mentioned. There's no.
It had nothing to do with Punk. No, it was the bit where they basically, so before they re-signed this big deal with AEW, they were joking that they got a big offer from Wendy's, the restaurant, and then they had another big offer from another. I can't remember what the other chain. It might have been Chili's. I think it was Chili's. Yeah.
Mentioned in the article I have here on Wrestling Observer.
But Chili's, Chili's has been a reoccurring thing throughout the history of BT. But the joke was that, like, oh, we got a really big offer from Wendy's and we got a really big offer from Chili's, and which one are we going to take? And then they eventually, you know, picked Chili's or whatever it was. But no, it had absolutely zilch to do with Punk, and there was nothing referenced like that. I don't think they ever mentioned Punk at all on that show, other than until he left, and then they did a whole bit with Pepsi and deep dish pizza, and they were drinking Coke and not Pepsi. That's fucking hilarious. But
speaking of which, there's a photo Grayson Waller released from after Payback where he's hello, Dig. Oh boy, hi. But no, there's actually a funny picture that Grayson Waller came out with after Payback where he's wearing his room with a Pepsi. Yeah, what the hell happened there? So disclosure, Dagan has been doing this on his phone. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, luckily, I do have this day in wrestling history up. Yeah. Okay. So September 9th, the day this is happening, September 9th, 1967. Bruno Sammartino defeats Gorilla Monsoon in a Texas death match at Boston Garden to retain the WWF World Heavyweight title. In 1980, the Samoans defeat Tony Gurria and Rene Goulet in a tournament final for the Triple WWF World Tag Team title, starting their second title run. The titles had been vacated when Pedro Morales and Bob Backlund defeated the Samoans, but Backlund was unable to defend the tag belts due to being the heavyweight champion, because back then they had this weird rule where You couldn't hold 2 titles, which is actually why Ultimate Warrior dropped the Intercontinental title after he won the heavyweight title at WrestleMania 6. And then
I'm sorry, everybody. This is a now an issue that my phone decides to fucking overheat halfway through the show, and so I'm now dealing with very spotty internet. So it's either very spotty internet or it's a shitty phone. So
good.
God damn, fucking living in the woods in Vermont, man. I swear to God.
I just did a few of this day WWE, but no, when you cut out, I was saying that Grayson Waller released a picture that around that time after Payback, after getting super kick for he's nursing his face with a Coke can of Pepsi. Oh, he froze. Cool.
This is so fucked. Now there's 2 of me. This is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of him.
Yep. Oh my God, there's 2 Dagans. Dagan square. No, Grayson Waller, like I said, picture of him nursing his wound with the can of Pepsi was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And
so what were we talking about against CM Punk? Okay.
Sorry?
I said, what were we talking about again? CM Punk.
I don't remember. There's a lot of CM Punk stuff.
I put my phone in the freezer, so I'm gonna let it sit there for a couple minutes.
Well, maybe it's time to get a new phone.
Over. It might be time to get a new phone. Yeah, you think?
Yeah. But no, there's always something new with CM Punk. Like, that's the thing. Like, the dude, the accolades he's gotten, he's 100% deserved. Nobody ever could take him away from that. But I heard this saying the other day, and it kind of made me chuckle. And it was actually in regards to CM Punk. But it's like, if you still walk out the door and you encounter one asshole in the day, that's not bad. But if you walk out the door and everyone you encounter is an asshole, you're probably the asshole.
Yeah. Like, stuff with guys that apparently could not be nicer, like Hangman Adam Page. You know, like why pick a fight with that guy? You know, William Regal.
Daniels, why is he banned from Collision? Why? Because he tried to separate you guys? Fuck you.
Yeah. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of obvious. I hate to pick a side, but it's like this is so sort of, you know, clear cut, black and white.
Yeah, exactly.
The problem was Punk. I mean, that's what it comes down to. Like, he was the problem, and that's it. Like, really. I want to read the Mark Henry quote about it, because that's that to me, I think, sums up everything that could be.
I love Mark Henry. He's good at summing up this shit in AEW very well.
Yes, absolutely. Is my internet okay? I know my video is a little choppy, but
you're fine.
Yeah. So so here's the Mark Henry quote when he was talking on Busted Open Radio. Mark Henry was asked if he thinks that AEW is a better place now without Punk, and Henry says yes, and then elaborated by saying, "Now you can freely go, and there will be no more complaining. There should be no more complaining. The problem is gone. The so-called problem is everything should be shits and giggles and unicorn pee and rainbow blankets. That's what it should be now. I'm curious to see how it's going to be, but the problem is solved."
Yeah, it's one of those, how much of that is sarcasm, how much of that isn't, because I remember he was actually one of the people that was very happy to see CM Punk when he arrived.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people will, but I just feel like that the more he was there and the more he sort of showed his true colors, the more it became obvious that, he was sort of, what was Seth Rollins' quote? There's a locker room cancer, you know?
Yeah. And then if you look at the WWE side of things, there's a lot of veterans there that do not fucking want him around that were there the last time.
Yeah.
People like Seth Rollins and what have you. And I really, you know what? I don't see CM Punk going there. I can see him going elsewhere.
Okay, because that was gonna be my next question for this whole discussion.
No, the thing with Punk is it's too soon, and it would come off as being done out of spite. I could see him doing well. New Japan still has a relationship with AEW, so I don't know. But
well, the only other real option is if he wants to take a lot less money. I mean, Impact Wrestling, you know. But
you know what? Someone like him could do well in Impact, and someone like Tommy Dreamer can keep him under control.
Impact almost seems like a place for some of these, you know, I don't want to call them rejects, but
it's well, you're not wrong. It is. It's where the rejects go to reinvent themselves. Like it's nothing new either. Look at
Bobby. It's not a bad thing either. It's like,
and like I said, it's nothing new. Look at Bobby Lashley. Look at Drew Galloway. Right? Mm-hmm. Nothing new.
Yeah, it's a place that a lot of times people go to sort of hit the reset button. You know, like Trinity. Trinity right now is the Knockouts world champion is awesome, and you know I think like both her and Sasha were, and from their own words too, I think felt underutilized there, and sort of wanted to get out and sort of reinvent themselves, and both of them I feel like are doing that. And I actually think that both of them are going to end up in maybe being brought in together into AEW at some point down the road, because I don't think Trinity, her contract with Impact was scheduled till the end of the summer, and we're kind of at the end of the summer right now. And their next big show is Bound for Glory, so I could see her potentially dropping the Knockouts title to like Jordynne Grace.
Was it Bound for Glory last night?
No, that was Victory Road.
Oh shit! Okay.
Last night. So, but yeah, no, I think Impact Wrestling, like they get a lot of shit because the taste of TNA is still lingering. But
it's good.
Honestly, like I'm a big fan. I'm an unabashed big fan of Impact Wrestling, and being that I drove all the way down to New York City last night to see the show. Not quite New York City, but White Plains, and I just had a blast, man. It's a fun time. You can't expect too much, you know. You can't expect the 5-star, you know, Kenny Omega classic main event, but at the same time, like there's a lot of really great talent on their roster, and there's still some really great matches on the card, even if sometimes the booking's a little it's a hell of a lot of fun, and I think the community that surrounds Impact Wrestling is really what you go for. It feels like kind of a big family.
It seems like a lot of fun.
And they don't run these big venues. It's only like they only sell a few hundred tickets for even like a big show, like one of their pay-per-views or anything. And the crowd is always really hot, you know, even though it's a smaller crowd. And you know that saying about how sometimes 20 people at an indie show can sound like Madison Square Garden. You know, very much feel that way with Impact, and
there is one downfall to being in the small arena, which I will bring up when we eventually discuss last night's show. I mentioned
kind of are now, so you can bring it up now if you want.
Okay, well, it was during the end of the PCO bully match. Okay. You know what I'm talking about, right? With the mishap at the end.
Oh so, yeah,
because it's a small venue and you've got like the best possible equipment you can get. They picked Bully Ray up saying to PCO, go for it again, which is why all that stuff that preceded happening, which is why PCO tried to put the table back up, which is why Bully tried to, and then that's when they realized the table was broken and they had to, you know, call it audible and end the match that way. But you clearly hear Bully say, go for it again. And it's like, okay.
You might have heard me screaming, Botcha Mania at one point.
Every time this motherfucker's taking a picture, I can see him taking the picture, and then I get
I was right on the entrance ramp.
Yeah, well, God, what was the best one? Like, the Trinity one was pretty cool.
I thought Deonna Purrazzo versus Jordynne Grace was a really.
I'm talking about the pictures you sent me. Talking about the pictures you sent me, but yeah, the action shot you got of Bully and PCO.
Oh wait, you weren't saying what was the best match, but what were some of the best pictures I took?
Yeah, some of the best pictures, because Dagan, if you watch it, you can see Dagan holding a sign that says Brian Alvarez is afraid of pork chops.
Yeah, Brian Alvarez fears pork chops.
Yeah,
I'm gonna attempt to bring that into Arthur Ashe Stadium and have it in front of the world.
But yeah, no, overall it was a pretty good show, and I don't watch a lot of Impact, but every time I do enjoy myself.
Well, yeah, I thought it was a really fun show, and as we were talking now, they're taping their 1000th episode.
I'm gonna try to watch that one because there's a lot of people coming back for that.
I unfortunately had to work today, so I wasn't able to do the second night, but they had a big like fan convention thing, a lot of meet and greets and stuff today, and then the 1000th episode.
They announced the latest inductees into the TNA Hall of Fame or Impact Hall of Fame. The original announcers, Mike Tenay and Don West, couldn't have picked anyone better. Those two were some of the bright spots of early TNA.
Yeah, man. No,
any of the early TNA stuff?
I mean, I've gone back to the archives and I've watched some of it, but Mostly, the most like that I ever watched was probably like the mid to late 2000s when it was on like Spike TV or whatever.
That's when I came on too.
And like I was in high school, so I would go over to my buddy's house and we would watch like Raw, and then sometimes there would be Impact Wrestling would be on, or TNA, I guess at that point. And like, oh, more wrestling. It's the weird, like, the other weird other company.
Yeah, that's when I was watching TNA. Like, that's when I was really watching TNA. It was just after the weekly pay-per-views.
Yeah, and then when I started watching the show, I think more regularly is when they started doing the Broken Hardy universe stuff, which I think was 2016, 17, somewhere around there.
That sounds 16 sounds about right because the Hardys returned at WrestleMania 34, which is 2018.
It was 2018, yeah. So probably 16 and 17 was the peak Broken Hardy stuff. So that's when I was more regularly watching the show. But yeah, I mean I've gone back in the archive and I watched some of the stuff. I mean, there's some stuff that's notoriously bad.
Oh yeah.
But there's also some like hidden gems if you go back and watch some of like the old X Division stuff with like AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and like
with Sabin in there and Darian in there and Samoa Joe competing in there. That X Division at that time was some of the hottest shit going down in wrestling.
Those stacked.
100%. And those Ultimate X matches, oh my god.
Yeah. So
some of those early matches, man.
So speaking of history, Soda, I'm going to go run downstairs and get my phone out of the freezer and hopefully continue the show there. Do you want to do the this day in wrestling history?
Yeah, I had started when you logged back on. Okay. So
I'm gonna switch over to the other. I'm gonna pass the show over to Soda, and I'm gonna switch over to the other Dagan, who's currently downstairs screaming into the void.
Frozen.
I will. I'll see you guys frozen in place. I will see you guys here shortly. So go ahead.
Okay, so in 1986, Dusty Rhodes defeated Arn Anderson for the NWA television title, starting his third reign with the belt. On this day in 1991, Ric Flair wrestles his first match for the WWF following his departure from WCW that July. He defeats Jim Powers at a TV taping in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. On this day in 1993, both Sarah Logan and Brian Pillman Jr. were born. And as well, in 1999, the British Bulldog returned and defeated the Big Boss Man to become the Hardcore Championship on a random episode of SmackDown. And then for whatever reason, he just gave the belt to El Snow right afterwards. And that night also had the Big Show and the Undertaker winning the tag title belts from Mankind and The Rock in a Buried Alive match. And this match has an incredible spot in it with Mick Foley where Big Show throws him from the stage and he bounces off of the burial mound. Oh, it's freaking great. And then let's see. And also, finally, in this day in 2020, Miro debuted in AEW as the best man to Kip Sabian at his wedding to Penelope Ford. And that's pretty much all I have. Man, looking at Miro then and looking at him now, it's like two different people. Perfect timing. I just finished.
Nice. I'm crackling. Do you hear crackle in the background? Yeah, but probably because my phone was just in the freezer. Let me try to switch my audio.
A little bit of highlights. So this was the debut. This day in 1991 was Ric Flair's debut in WWF. And this
there we go.
In 1999, there was British Bulldog won the hardcore title for the Big Boss Man on a random episode of SmackDown, but the best part of that was the Buried Alive match, the main event of that night. Undertaker and Big Show versus the Rock and Sock Connection for the tag titles. And as I was saying,
nice.
There's a really cool spot in there where Big Show throws Mankind for the stage to the mound and Mick bounces.
Sorry.
And then in 2020, Miro debuted in AEW. That's it.
Okay. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I think it's time for a new phone, everybody.
Yeah.
This is getting a little ridiculous. I'm not going to lie.
Solar or an iPhone.
Yeah. Well, really, what it comes down to is if I had better internet, I would be able to just do the show there every week. But actually, it was working okay up in the loft, so that might be the solution is.
Yeah. Or just the router.
Yeah, well, the problem is that I'm now having to bomb off a neighbor's internet because we have the worst internet service provider in the country that is we're stuck in a ruralized monopoly with them because it's like this thing where I live so far out in the middle of nowhere that they're the only option, and they have just been dicking us around for months now, not turning our service back on again. So we have to use an adjacent connection here from one of our neighbors that we're paying to use.
Companies privatized, man. That just blows.
It just fucking blows. It's the absolute dirt worst. I mean, I swear to God. So, if anyone from Consolidated is watching this show, fuck you and your fucking company. You're the fucking worst. Absolute shitheads.
Go tell us.
There we go. But yeah, man, I don't know if there's any other like real news or anything to discuss.
CM Punk's pretty much dominated everything.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
On WWE side, like Jey Uso is now on Raw, and somebody's gonna be going over to SmackDown. Word is it might be Cody Rhodes, and have him pick up the story there. Gunther just the other day passed the Honky Tonk Man to finally become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time.
I saw the clip of him making Chad Gable's children cry. Oh my God!
Watch the match. Just fucking watch the match.
Okay.
Cody Rhodes, they're on. He was doing an interview and he said that they had a standing ovation waiting for them in the back. Like everyone was at Gorilla.
Really?
So go for the match. It's good.
What was the other match you recommend? It was the Becky Lynch, Trish
It's their cage match that opened Payback. That was a phenomenal match. Trish Stratus's first cage match. Yeah, it was a great way to set the pace for what ended up being a pretty good show. And then
I like that Trish Stratus has had this like career resurgence. And considering that like she's from an era where it's like you watch old clips of Trish Stratus and the one that's like her taking all her clothes off, like that the rest of the actual in-ring wrestling at that point it was like broad panty matches, broad panty matches and stuff like that. So to have her like, because she's a really amazing worker, to have her like in there with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and like
that's the impressive thing about it is if you like you said, think of where she started. She was hired as a fitness model to bring in, and she became the face of her generation. And you're right, like look at her. She hasn't wrestled a full-time schedule in years.
Yeah,
and she come back and has this admittedly way too long program with Becky Lynch, but it culminated in a really great cage match that, if you ask me, gave the perfect rub to Zoe Stark. Zoe Stark is made after that.
And she looks really good. Like, not just, physically, but like in ring, I think she's been.
She still has it. She could still wrestle a full-time schedule if she wanted.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild. And it's crazy that like people like that can come back and just like dive right back in, like.
Yeah, it's like she hadn't missed a day. So I highly recommend going and watching that cage match. Like I said, great fucking opener.
Yeah, okay.
Great spots in there. Yeah. Trish got a nice on her head.
I don't want to end the show. Yeah, I don't want to end the show on a
WWE, the Gunther Chad Gable match from Raw, and the Becky and Trish match that opened Payback.
Gotcha. Okay, those are the recommended WWE matches to watch this week. Another match that I'd recommend, and I don't want to end the show on a sad note, but we unfortunately haven't talked about the loss of both Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt. And Terry Funk, an absolute legend, somebody that I think paved the way. We'll go back and watch the I Quit match with Ric Flair, or any other you'd recommend.
Barely Legal 97, the ECW World Title match against Sabu and I want to say Shane Douglas, but I could be wrong on that. Go back and watch. There's actually some good house show matches against Hulk Hogan. He was the challenger in 86, 85 for a run. You go back and watch, it's King of the Death match stuff, of course. Go back and watch, if you really want to go back and watch old Japan stuff, go watch his old All Japan stuff from back in the day. If you could find it, try to find the concession stand brawl with Jerry Lawler, which is a famous one.
Love that.
And if you can, anything with Dusty and Terry from Florida. Basically, the best way to describe Terry Funk's legacy, he is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler.
Yes, absolutely.
All the tributes. We had Kevin Owens at Payback take off his shirt, and it had a Terry Funk shirt. But my fucking personal favorite was Eddie Kingston with the Claudio Sucks Eggs shirt. I laughed so hard at that.
I also love Terry, Tommy Dreamer's Terry Funk shirt last night was pretty good. And they had the whole crowd chanting Terry Funk a couple times during his match. And you know, it's a shame, but I also know that Terry had some pretty bad health problems there towards the end, and
Parkinson's or something like that. Like he was deteriorating.
Yeah. But I think that as sad and tragic as Terry's passing was, I think that Bray hit me a little bit harder because of just how unexpected it was, and given the fact that he seemingly, I mean, he had his health issues as well, but from all the reports were that he was sort of on his way to recovery and from getting hit pretty bad with COVID, and obviously somebody that's prone to that kind of stuff, and that it was a heart attack. So and 36 years old, he's like your age, my age.
Yeah, I just turned 36.
4 kids, I believe. Married to JoJo.
Yeah, if I heard fiance, I don't know.
Yeah, but regardless, I mean, you gotta send the thoughts out to his family. That one really hit me. I mean, I couldn't even believe when I heard that one. It was, crazy enough, it was similar to when I found out about Brody Lee.
Yeah,
and his passing. It was very much like just came out of nowhere, and you weren't expecting it, and it just hits you, like, considering how young they were, and man, what a tragedy! What a huge loss for Bray, and definitely made me go back and like watch a couple of matches. The strap match with Bryan Danielson, and the match with the Wyatt family versus the Shield from Elimination Chamber 2014. Easily one of the best matches that year. Just a really, really great match with a lot of big guys doing crazy moves, and like the last 5 minutes of that match are just fucking insane. So highly recommend both of those matches if you want to go back and watch a Bray Wyatt match. But yeah, man, that was a tough one for me. I was like getting hyped up. I was on my way to a Bruce Springsteen concert, and I got that news, and I just like I couldn't help it. I broke down, and just very, very tragic. I mean, I love Bray Wyatt. He was one of my favorites. Real, like, in the last decade for sure. Like, it very I guess divisive at times, and certainly some of the WWE booking didn't help, but just very creative. He had a very creative mind, and somebody that I really wanted to see more. Like, I wanted to see what he was going to do next.
Yeah,
and it's just what a shame. What a real shame.
Yeah, his sadly, like I was over on Take 3 Productions last week where we did a rank on the Bray Wyatt matches. If I'm being 100% honest, there's not that many truly great matches. There's a decent good, but outside of that, because like the Firefly Fallen House, that I think that would probably be his lasting legacy as a match. It's that one. But yeah, my personal favorite of his is the one you mentioned, the Wyatts and the Shield, which was a really impressive 4 pay-per-view streak for the Shield. Because mainly after that was against the Outlaws and Kane, but after that it was 2 back-to-back bangers against Evolution.
And that was like, that loss felt like kind of the beginning of the end for them.
In a way,
the real turning point to where then you knew somebody was going to turn, but a lot of people thought it was going to be Dean. Some people thought it was going to be Roman, and we kind of weren't expecting it to be Seth. Yeah. And it was like, wow, like what a moment that was. But yeah, that loss against the Wyatts just absolutely fucking kill them in that match. And it's a great match.
You never heard anything bad about Bray at all. Like from every single thing you hear you say, hug, a laugh, like a long time. Oh,
great with the fans, somebody that seemed very approachable. You could just kind of walk up to and talk to.
The faceless people in the back, he treated you like you belonged and stuff like that. Like you could clearly see this is like when Eddie died.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Same thing.
I can only compare it to Eddie because I didn't know Brody Lee all that well. I only knew him as Luke Harper. It wasn't until after the fact. So I mean, his death, it hit me because wrestler cut down his prime. Clearly, he's going to hit me, but it didn't get me on that emotional level. Same with, unfortunately, Jay Briscoe's death. While it did affect me, not as bad, but Bray's a little different story. It hit me like Eddie because this guy I've literally been watching for 10 years. The guy, like I said, the guy's my age. Like, there's a lot of stuff into it as well. But yeah, like just the whole wrestling world coming up, like around basically the Wyndham family. Like that is a family that doesn't get talked about in terms of legacy. Like Blackjack Mulligan, IRS, Barry Windham. And then of course the boys there. And Natalia has been sharing some pretty fun pictures on social media because they grew up together. Yeah. Like their dads were friends. So it's pretty interesting to see a picture of like a very newly born Bray Wyatt being held by IRS. Fucking wild. But yeah, to see the whole wrestling world come together, see like Impact give a tribute. AEW did a graphic that night. Everyone did. Tony Khan said, "Hey, anybody who wants to go to the funeral," because it was on a Dynamite tapings, like that free reign, which is why a lot of it had to be rewritten, and even provided his private jet for those who wanted to go but still wanted to work that night. So I mean,
Tony Khan again. I know a lot of people. Yeah, fuck you, Tony Khan, CM Punk. Blah, blah. At the end of the day, he's a great dude. That Tony Khan. Everything you hear about him, charities, whatever. But yeah, anyway,
it's just fucking weird. It's gonna be weird not having Bray around anymore. Because you're right. What was next? He was just getting ready to come up. But one of the probably the most heartwarming things I saw that came out after the tribute show was about a dozen or so WWE employees, wrestlers, and stuff behind this alike, all went and got Bray Wyatt's logo tattooed on them. So they got Killer Cross. You had Scarlett. You had Shotzi went. I know Rob Fee, who worked very closely with Bray Wyatt on the Fiend stuff. He's also he's head of continuity or some shit like that behind the scenes. He was there. Like a lot of people got Bray Wyatt's logo tattooed on them. Like that's how you honor your friend.
Yeah.
And actually, what also got me was they brought in Redbeard. You couldn't Redbeard if he wasn't there, man. It wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah. The other thing I went back and watched was that promo that he cut when he returned on SmackDown, where basically it's like the real guy, not
little chilling now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like going back to the Warriors final promo, very different context.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's a bummer. But you gotta
have someone else in wrestling pass away recently, or am I going nuts? There's another celebrity death recently, and I could have sworn it was wrestling related.
No, there was Margaritaville passed away.
Oh yeah. Oh no, Bob Barker. That's why.
Bob Barker. That's it. Yeah. He was like 100 years old. So.
Well, yeah, no, of course, but I mean, like he was probably the best Raw guest host from back in that day.
Yeah, man, it's crazy, but hopefully our buddy Ben Rayner is up there watching. He's the one fan in attendance for the greatest wrestling match of all time, Mr. Brody Lee versus Bray Wyatt. So
actually, I want to see Terry Funk call St. Peter an egg-sucking dog.
With Terry Funk as the special guest referee, yeah.
or go up to Christ and go, "Your mother's a whore."
Right. Well, I don't know if there's any good way to segue out of this, Soda. We got about 5 minutes left until Collision goes live, so I'm definitely going to go watch that show here in a bit. But one of the things that I was watching... What's that?
Something we didn't mention. I want to mention it before we leave. Who's supposed to be now the face of Collision? Bryan Danielson.
Bryan Danielson, yes. I think if AEW wants to pull this all together... Yeah. You have Bryan Danielson as the top babyface of Collision. You build the show around him, and the top heel, not Ricky Starks, although he's a good one as well, but Switchblade Jay White.
Yes.
You build the show around him, and you're good to go.
One more match before we leave: Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks in that fucking strap match. I went back.
Oh my god! Yeah, match of the year contender for sure. Like that's going in my top 10. I don't know if there's a way for that to get bumped out of the top 10 at this point, because that was that's probably the greatest strap match I've ever seen. I mean, I just mentioned the one he had against the Danielson had against the Fiend, but man.
But I might give that. I actually might give that tonight to another match on that one.
Okay, what the
Moxley?
The Moxley Orange Cassidy match, the main event was fucking amazing.
Well earned ovation for Orange Cassidy. Well earned.
Yes, absolutely, man. What a show All Out was. Holy shit. We barely talked about it because we had a lot of other stuff to talk about. But
yeah, was this as good as All In? No, didn't need to be, but it was still pretty fucking good.
Oh, I thought it was.
Oh, really?
I preferred All Out. Yep.
Oh no, not me, man.
That was a better show. Yeah. But look, I'm really hyped for the future of AEW. I think that they have a lot going for them, as much as the internet might want to tell you otherwise. And right before we went live here, I watched the finals for the women's U.S. Open. Congrats to Coco Gauff, 19 years old, $3 million, winning the U.S. Open in her home country. Fucking amazing. I wish I had $3 million when I was 19. But I digress, as Taz says. Watching the crowd at Arthur Ashe Stadium get me super hyped to be in the building there in about a week and a half here, coming up for Grand Slam. Me and Tyler will be there. Hopefully, I don't get COVID again. But like maybe saying it will prevent it from happening. Hopefully, but yeah, we'll be front row in the stands, right opposite the hard cam, right in the middle. You'll be able to see us all night, and I cannot fucking wait. So So-Dagan Wrestling. Live, potentially, or I'll be posting some shorts from Grand Slam coming up in a couple weeks. Hopefully, we'll be able to get in one more show before then. I know we're kind of all over the place with these shows, but you want to know why we're doing that? It's because we fucking feel like it. We do the show when we fucking feel like it, and we're not in any kind of schedule or have any kind of team breathing down the back of our necks telling us what to do. So. Soda, any final words here before we wrap up today?
Yeah, it's been quite a whirlwind of the last couple of weeks. A lot of highs, some really shitty lows. But overall, man, wrestling is just as hot as ever. Like, you can't argue that wrestling is just as hot as ever. So yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of match recommendations that I have in the last week. So go check out the ones I recommended. That's all I can say.
Absolutely. And until then, guys,
and Chris Jericho, that was a really good match as well.
Yes, and Kenny Omega versus Takeshita. I would highly recommend.
Surprising ending, in my opinion. I was not expecting.
Yes. You know what that ending felt like to me? It felt like
they want more heat.
More heat, yes.
More heat, mate.
Yeah.
And until more heat, ladies and gentlemen, it's 95 fucking degrees outside here in September. We will see you next time, if not at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Cheers, everybody.
Ooh.